Okay, let's dive into a specific challenge that, well, keeps coming up in our sources. Finding the right people in high-end design and architecture.
Yeah, it's a really specialized world.
Exactly. And it seems like hiring in this niche, it can feel a bit stuck. Maybe using methods that just aren't quite keeping pace.
That's definitely what the sources suggest. The traditional ways studios find, top-level designers or architects, they just seem inefficient now, kind of outdated for what this specific industry needs.
Right. So what's specifically breaking down with the status quo? What are the big pain points?
Well, the sources point to a few things. First, you've got the big platforms like LinkedIn, huge, obviously, what is it, over 1 billion profiles? Massive. But if you're a studio looking for, say, an architect with a very specific portfolio, maybe a certain aesthetic, digging through that, it's just overwhelming. Good people get lost.
It's like looking for one specific swatch in a giant warehouse. So, okay, what about recruiters? They were kind of the classic solution, weren't they?
They were, yeah. But the cost, wow. It's become a real barrier for a lot of firms. The sources talk about fees hitting like 20%, sometimes even 30% of the first year salary.
Oof, 20 to 30%. That's significant.
It really is. Especially for, smaller or mid-sized design studios, it often puts recruiters just out of budget.
Okay, so LinkedIn's too vast, recruiters are too pricey. What about plain old job boards? Sounds like they're missing the mark too.
Yeah, particularly for this high-end niche. Studios post a job and they might get flooded hundreds of applications maybe.
Yeah.
But the sources say the vast majority just aren't the right fit. Imagine spending days, weeks just sifting through portfolios that aren't even close.
On a time sink.
Exactly. It's a massive time sink. And that slows down everything else, the studio's growth, their ability to even take on new projects. The whole process becomes painfully slow.
Okay, so it's slow, it's inefficient, it can be really expensive, clearly not ideal. Given all these issues the sources lay out, what's the proposed fix? What are we seeing emerge?
Well, what's interesting is the idea of something built just for this world. The sources describe a vetted, two-sided hiring platform designed specifically, exclusively for high-end designers, architects, and the studios looking for them.
Okay, vetted, two-sided, exclusive. How does that specialization actually help? How does it tackle those problems we just talked about? The noise, the cost, the bad fit?
The key seems to be curation. So instead of that giant messy pool you get on LinkedIn or the irrelevant flood from job boards,
Right.
This platform apparently handpicks both the roles and the talent. The aim is to make those perfect matches happen way faster because you're starting with a much more relevant, high-quality group.
That makes sense. That focus alone would cut down on all that wasted sifting time. And you mentioned transparency was a big point in the sources.
Absolutely. The idea is that users see real verified opportunities and accurate talent profiles. No more ghost jobs,
Yeah.
listings that aren't really open.
Or candidates whose experience looks great on paper, but doesn't quite match reality.
Exactly. It builds trust and, again, saves time.
So curation and transparency help with quality. Does it actually speed things up? That slow hiring cycle sounded like a major frustration.
That's a core claim, yeah. By streamlining how people connect and doing some of that vetting up front, the idea is that studios can go from spotting talent to making an offer in, days instead of months.
Days, not months.
That's what's suggested. Some sources even mention placements happening in under 24 hours sometimes, which is, a massive change from the old way.
Wow, okay. Days instead of months is a huge deal. It also sounds like it gives more agency back to the designers and architects themselves.
It seems to, yeah. Candidates get more control. They can search actively and connect directly with studios that really fit their style, their goals, the kind of team they want to join.
And for the studios.
They get really specific filters, things like project type, team size, design style, remote work policy, budget range, even down to specific software skills. So they can zero in on exactly who they need.
Those filters sound crucial in a field where nuance is everything. Is this just theoretical, or is it actually being used? You mentioned leading firms.
Yeah, the credibility seems to be building. The sources say it's already working with quite a few top studios, including, I think it was 30 firms from the 80-100 list.
Oh, wow. 30, 80, 100 firms. Okay, so it's definitely getting traction in that specific high-end space it's targeting.
Seems like it.
So thinking about you listening, maybe you run a studio and you're tired of that frustrating search, or perhaps you're a designer looking for that perfect role that feels impossible to find. What this kind of platform really represents is potentially a much smarter path, a more targeted, efficient, maybe more successful way to make those critical connections in an industry where historically it's been pretty tough.
Yeah, and it really leaves you with a question to think about, doesn't it? For an industry like high-end design and architecture, so reliant on specifics, on relationships, often seen as a bit slower to adopt new tech, what does a platform built just for its unique needs actually mean for its future? How could it fundamentally change the way top talent and the best opportunities actually find each other going forward?